I hope everyone can see it well.
I'm sorry, Amy, would you like me to give you an introduction?
Sure, you can do that. That would be great.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess we'll be starting. Welcome to the Blue program. I'm Kurt Sampson, your moderator. Also joining us is Wayne, who can, I think, if he pipes in the chat, who can also pipe in whenever he wants to help with moderation duties, since he's one of the planners for ETJ. And Amy, who is our first presenter, has been teaching children for 9 years, and she's working at an international preschool with after-school students. And she'll be presenting, as you see on her title screen, making a well-balanced lesson. So go ahead, Amy, take it away.
Thank you, Kurt, and thank you everyone for joining me today. I hope you are well. Today we're going to talk about making a well-balanced lesson. Please make sure your mics are muted, as most of the feedback today will come from the chat. I'm looking at the chat. Let me just introduce myself. That is me. I am Amy. I'm from America, United States. And I've been in Japan for 9 years, mostly teaching children. Been working in an international school environment for 7 years. I have also been teaching after-school kids from mostly elementary students. So I teach kids from 0 to maybe 10 years old. So today's presentation is about kindergarten age, 3 to 6, but you can use the techniques I present today in any settings for Eikaiwa. I strongly advise kindergarten and elementary. As you see, there's a QR code, a little circle, that is my feedback form. It's really a 4 to 5 question feedback to know what I've done right and what I have done wrong. Please let me know with the feedback. First of all, I want to start with a quote. The quote is, "The best teachers are those who think carefully about what they're going to do in the class and who plan how they are going to organize teaching and learning." And this is from Jeremy Harmar, from the book, The Practice of English Language Teaching, 1991. And why do we need to make a well-balanced lesson? Well, here's some reasons why. It makes your class run smoothly, will lower your stress level, present more value to the students, make your lessons meaningful, give clear and effective goals and objectives for not only you and the students, but also the parents. As for me, as a kindergarten teacher, my customers aren't only the students, it's the moms. So this making a well-balanced lesson will make their mouths go up and smile a lot, and it makes planning easier, which will lower your stress, because as you know, we are busy people and we need more time to plan other things. The first steps are planning a well-balanced lesson is you have to ask yourself, what are my aims? So aims are what teachers and learners want to achieve in the lesson. Different classroom activities are planned in order to achieve these aims. In other words, the aims on the lesson plans often describe what the teacher wants learners to be able to do by the end of the lesson, or what they will have done during it. Some of the questions you can ask yourself, and when you plan, what do the students know already? What do the students need to know? What do you do with the students in the previous class? How well do the class work together? How motivated are the students? So those are some of the questions you can ask to find your aim. And then the second question you want to ask yourself, what are my objectives? Objectives are the individual stages that learners must achieve on the way in order to reach the overall aim of the lesson. They state what you want students to accomplish. You should have 2 or 3 objectives. Any more, it will confuse the learners and it will confuse you. Some of the words you can use for your objectives are state, explain, outcome, list, and describe. And then the third question you want to ask when you want to start making a well-balanced lesson is, what do I want the students to learn? What is your main objectives and aims, and what do you want them to learn? What outcomes you want for your students? And I got this very informative graphic from a book called Planning Lessons and Courses, Design and Sequence of Work from the Language Classroom from Tessa Ward. And this graphic, you really have to understand your students. The fourth part is you should understand your students and know how they are, how they learn, and how would they interact. Because if you don't know your students, then your class 50% will fail because you didn't understand your students. So these are some of the questions you can ask yourself. Who can you find your information from? How to get information on the first meeting? How can you find information about those students? So these are really good questions to ask for that information. What other factors do we need to think about when we create this well-balanced lesson? First, you have to think about the 4 areas of English ESL learning: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. What are the inputs of the day? What are the outputs? You have to figure out what activity you do in the class that day will satisfy the listening part. What part will satisfy the speaking part, and so on. So, and what I do is, in a class, I do all 4. In a 50-minute lesson, I do all 4. In a preschool setting, I do all 4 in the morning within 2 hours. For me, it's very critical to hit all these 4 targets: listening, reading, speaking, writing, within a 15-minute lesson. Because it's so important. If you leave one out, it's gonna just tumble. And all of them actually support each other. Listening will support speaking will support reading will support writing. So if you leave one out, there's going to be a cascade of things falling down. Students might not learn well. And then you have to think about interactive patterns. How do you want each activity to be held in the interactive patterns? Do you want individual work? Do you want pair work? Do you want small group work, large groups work, whole class work? A good lesson will have a balance of all of these patterns. You don't have to use all 5. You have a 50-minute lesson, you might not have time to do all 5 of them. You might have to use 3, but don't make your lesson just on individual. Make it like a assortment of all of these patterns. Maybe you will do individual in the beginning. Maybe you will then go to pair work, then whole class. It's up to you. You have to think about how that works in your class and in your lesson. And then the last one is get along. Okay. Sometimes we will pair students with good students with bad students, lower level with high students. And you might pair some people who hate each other. You have to just understand how relationships work with each other, with each kid, and how do they get along with each other. Some kids hate each other, some kids love each other, some kids just goof off. So you have to think about how you can work that through. And like I said, sometimes I will pair good students higher level with lower levels, but I won't pair them up with the same people every time. It's always a mixed bag. So let me go to the next one. So Robertson Caleb had 3 steps of how to the action plans for teachers. How we can make the class more meaningful. Okay. It is important to engage the students. Make sure when you plan that lesson, you think, how can I engage that student? This means getting the students interested in the subject, in the class, and in the language point. After all, you may feel that students come to school to just learn and not be entertained. If the students are engaged, they're interested and involved in what's going on. They also actively involved in what's going on. Engaged students learn better. Okay, that's the first step. How can I engage my students in this lesson? How can they take it away? Study. Of course, when we're in an English class, how can we have them to study? Because that's how, in our mind, that's what they're here for. They're studying English. But in a lesson, students usually need something to study. So there needs to be a language focus, such as grammar, pronunciation. A study stage does not have to be a new language import. You don't have to introduce everything new. Sometimes, for me, each class is a review and then something new. But some classes for me, it could be just a review. It could be a cover, you could review, or like I said, extension of previous taught material. For me, how I do a lesson is in a month, I will do monthly lessons. First one might be vocabulary. Second one would be maybe a basic grammar. Then add on to that grammar. Then review and add, maybe if I have time, add on to another group for the last lesson. So I'm building up baby steps. Baby steps are what you need. And I'm going to talk about that later. And the next one is activate. Simply telling students how the language goes doesn't cut it. It doesn't help them to learn. In order for students to be able to develop their use of English, they need a chance to produce it. Group work, games, presentations, anything. And the reasons why is it gives the students a chance to practice and rehearse their English as if they're speaking in the real world. We are hoping to have the students in our 50-minute class to kind of have English in a world, a native speaking environment. It helps them to switch languages they've been studying, and this is another reason why they have to have this practice. It helps them to switch. And these activities are always fun. These activate activities are always fun for students, especially if it's a game. But games are not what you solely have to focus on. My kids love pair work. They love it because it's a chance to talk to each other, get to interact, be their own selves. And these and this point goes into the last one, this kind of activity, activate, it doesn't restrict them to use a particular area language. It lets them be creative. Like I said, pair work, it lets them to be creative. They can change, they can mutate the language, they can do whatever they want, they can make it personal. So engage, study, and activate. These are three important considerations for any lesson. Every activity, every exercise, every part of the lesson should fit into one of these categories. Although ESA is a guide to what should be into a lesson, it shouldn't be how the order should be. You don't have to start the lesson with just engage. You don't have to be like number one, engage, number two, study, number three, activate. For example, you could change it up. It is possible to have the activate stage before the study stage. So you have to think in your lesson, how can I put these three elements into my lesson? And you can switch it up. Okay, pause. I'm going to ask you, this is our chat. Please let me know in the chat. How would you engage the students in your lesson? How would you activate them in your class? And how would you bring this study element? So first of all, let me ask you, how would you engage the student? Let me know in the chat. I don't have a timer on me. I have no timer, but let me know in the chat, how would you engage them? Let me just open my chat. I can't open my chat.
if you're screen sharing, your chat might be at the top, like the top bar, like hidden.
I can't see it. Oh, I don't.
Or click on, do you see that green bar that shows you your sharing options?
Yeah.
Click around there, maybe click that bar or something around there, and the little dialogue should pull down.
I
Conversely,
see. I see it. Thank you. I see it. Information gap activities, hugs and praises. Any others? I have information gap activities, hugs and praises. Use hands-on toys and hands-on toys. That's a great one. Small talk, that is great. Show a video. Quiz. Show a video is really good. I did that just Friday. Use movement and songs. That's great. Present new target and narrative forms of problems for students to solve. Q&A. Pretend pay. That is a good one. Yes. Read books with music. I use pictures. These are great ideas. Role play. That is a great one. Awesome. These are awesome answers. Let me go up. Yes, students make their original conversation movement first, discovery and exploration. These are great answers. And how would you activate these in your classroom? Let me ask you, how would you activate them? How would you bring movement into the classroom? How would you make them have original conversation? And I know this is like maybe a big lesson plan, but how would you read a book with music? Would you play a CD, or how would you do role play? Would you how would everyone activate in their class, activate your lesson plan in your classroom? Can you answer in the chat, please? I don't. Oh, there's one. Good answer. Oh, these are really good answers. These are really good answers. There's a lot of answers. Very good answers. With the toys, make role play, change my voices, divide the classroom into two, try to read picture books in an interactive way, stop and to let students point and answer questions. Faneuil books are really good. Faneuil boards, sorry, I'm used to Faneuil books too. Those touchy ones, those are really good. Have them play a game. First clap the hands, make movements and play a story song. If they have song, they start getting ready to listen. That is a great one. Do a demo first to show students what to do and ask students to do the same after. That's a good one. Interactive at all times. These are great answers. Thank you so much. Really great answers from you guys. I'm gonna move on. Let me just go back. Oh, there's another answer. Oh my goodness, there's so many good answers. That's great. I use card games and board games. I do that too. Oh my goodness, I love them. Some crafts, the crafts are great. These are great answers. So really good answers. Let me just, thank you. So, like I said before, we should be asking how to make our lessons more meaningful. So here's a general sequence of how I will run a lesson. Like I said, there are many ways to do a lesson, and you can do it anyway. This is a general 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How I would do it, but you can mix and match. First of all, I have a warm-up. When I first come into the classroom, I do a warm-up. And you can do any kind of warm-up, like you guys have suggested. You can do conversation, small talk, a book, just anything to get them ready to speak English, get them ready to just get ready into the lesson. And then number 2 is vocabulary. Well, the main meat, the vocabulary grammar lesson. The main, when I say the main meat, this is kind of the main lesson. What do you want them to say? The theme, like I have a theme lesson of vocabulary and grammar. What do I want them to say? What kind of vocabulary do I want them to remember? And what kind of grammar points do I want to focus on? This is the main lesson. And when you have a vocabulary lesson, you have first what you can do it anyway. I would just, for me, I would present it, then and then free practice. But you can do it either way. You can have free practice first, control, and then present. You can mix it up. Some people just do when they do the vocabulary grammar lesson, they just do free practice. You don't have to present. It's up to how you do your activity and how you do the game. And then number 3 is phonics. I will do a phonics lesson within the 50 minutes or 2 hours I have. Phonics is just basic, knowing their phonics, reading, listening, writing, whatever I can target on that day. And then I said writing. Also reading. I didn't put reading, but phonics and writing and reading. You can have them write. So write, and it can be any way. Write with markers, write with crayons, write with boards. Right. At my school we have big whiteboard. Our walls are whiteboards actually. They're erasable whiteboards, so I can have the kids just write ABCs on our walls, and they'd be happy. And then number 5 is warm down. It's at the end of the lesson, and you are almost done. You can sing a goodbye song. You can say, have a goodbye song. You have a goodbye story, or you just have small talk again. You just have them warm down and just calm down before you have to say goodbye. A lot of people I have seen don't really warm down. They don't really like say goodbye or anything. Like at the end of my day, when I teach at preschool, I kind of recap what we learn, and this recap of what our lesson was that day, and is general information and general chat before we say goodbye, and then we look into what's tomorrow. So that's my basic sequence, but you can change it up. You can have a warm up. Well, warm up's always basic. You always have to have that first. But you can have warm up. You can have warm up, then phonics, then vocabulary, then writing. You can mix it up, and you can do it your own way. But this is the basic flow for me when I do a 50 or 2 hour lesson. Like I said before, I said short and often. So Tessa would also said about threads. Threads are, when you have your classroom, think about threads. Some people believe that often is the that is in one class on everything about that grammar or that vocabulary or that phonics or writing. You want to do it little by little throughout the year. It is better to work in short spells and then leave it for a while and then come back. For me, I will focus on a theme lesson for 1 month, but that doesn't mean only that month I'm going to talk about that. We're going to revisit those vocabulary, those grammar points that we learned in that month. We're going to revisit it again because you have to review or they're going to forget. So you have to review and extend understanding little by little. I say it's leave breadcrumbs. I feel like when you teach, leave breadcrumbs so they can follow along and they can get it, and then they will get it and they will, sorry, I'm saying leave breadcrumbs because they will get it, and then they will get it, and they will learn in the long term. Sorry, thank you.
And Amy, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay. Remember, I'm gonna just quickly jump from this. Be real. Remember, when you plan, be realistic, be flexible, be learner focused, have plan B, have extra material. Each situation is different. Keep it visual, be active. Remember, it's easier to kill 2 birds with stones. This is very important when you do a lesson. It's easier. So there's other ideas. Check for students' understanding before, during, and after. Always write it down. Always seek help. Think outside the box and keep it fresh. Just remember these. I'm going to skip this and I'm going to go to the quote. Lesson plans or learning plans are constantly being modified and improved. They are rarely neat and never complete. Learning plans are a continuous progress and go on for pages. That's a quote from Harry K. and Rosemary Wong from an education book I found. I got from my parents, actually. So it's a neat quote that you have to remember. You should remember. Here's my sources. Quickly, these are the sources I used for my presentation. I'm going to flash by because I don't have time. But if you need this, just email me, or you can email me at, I think it's easier, at amy@gakko.jp if you need any information. Amy, AMY, @gakko.jp. That's really easy. I want to say thank you, and I'm rushing. I'm sorry I'm rushing, because if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. Remember, the little QR code is the feedback form. Please fill it out if you have time. I would know my feedback. I don't really do presentations, as I don't teach online a lot, so, and I don't really do online presentations, so feedback is very important to know what I need to improve on. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. Sorry, I'm rushing because I have 5 more minutes. I want to know if you have any questions. Please, if you have any questions or any feedback, let me know. Got 3 more minutes.
But yeah, if you have a question, like Amy said, please, you could put your question in the chat. Or I guess, would it be okay also for people to use the hand raise or reactions, Amy? Would that be okay?
Yes, if you want to, please use reactions too.
I guess, Amy, I did have a question about your usual teaching context. So when you're creating your lesson plans, is your typical class, about how long is your typical class?
So a Kiowa lesson is usually 50 minutes. After school program is 50 minutes. And like I said, preschool, I teach morning preschool. So it's 4 hours. They're there for 4 hours, but for our typical reading, writing, and phonics lesson, that's 2 hours, and warm and speaking. Yeah. But that's like, we will do like theme speaking in the morning, but that will come back in the afternoon too, with maybe activity. There's a question, sorry. Thank you. Yes. So Martin had a good question. I would like to know how you group your lessons. Is it by age level or ability level? And how do you balance those? Usually I don't group those lessons. Other people group that, mostly my boss. It is mostly age level, and sometimes age level does a big ability difference. And how do I balance it is that, like I said, I will put the higher levels, or the ones that I know who know the language, will go with the lower levels. The higher levels will help the lower levels learn the language, teach them, and help them do the activity together. Like if it's pair work, they can do it together. If it's phonics, they do it together. I do pair work phonics, spelling or reading, group them together. But when you teach that small phonics class, like let's say you do phonics for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. That first minute of phonics, you should review maybe basics together. So those kids who don't understand will, those kids who need basic phonics understanding can get the basics first, and then those who already know the basics can review with the beginners. So first, to recap, when you begin that little part of your section of your lesson, you want to review together. Even if it's simple review. The lower levels will get it, will learn something, and then the upper levels will review it. But also do pair upper level kids with lower level kids. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. And it's
Great.
And it's already time. Yeah, it's already time.
Yeah, so that is time. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. Everyone, thank you very much, Amy, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Wayne did have a question for you, so if you want to chat with Wayne, you can respond to him in the chat if you like, or you can go to the breakout room and and so on. We'll have a 10-minute break. Feel free to go get a drink, use the restroom, refresh yourself, and our next presenter will be me, Kurt Sampson, at 2:25, and I'll be talking about collaborative storytelling. So hang tight, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hey, Kurt, can you?
Oh, yes.
Just to remind you, can you stop me from being host?
I think you might. I'm not. So I don't have an option
I
don't have an option to not make you a host, but you should be okay. I think we're okay.
Okay, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave a presentation and close the chat. So.
Oh, no, I think you'll be okay. I have a you're not the main host. You're a co-host though. So
okay, thank you.
But yeah, I believe we'll be okay.